Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. This is Haley Gibson. I just want to talk a little bit about eczema, acne, and psoriasis. We're going to walk through the differences between these skin disorders. And we're also going to talk about strategies to help overcome them naturally. Personally, I have struggled with hormonal acne pretty severely, so I'm going to say some ways that I've personally came over this, and I'm also going to talk about other ways to overcome some of the other issues. Before we get started, just a little intro for those of you who don't know me. My name is Haley Gibson. I'm a professional nurse and functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I do help clients all over the world in overcoming their issues. I help you dive into the root cause of your problem and then overcome it naturally. So that's a little bit about myself. I did come from the hospital, and I just found that I was so passionate about helping people stay out of the hospital that I actually joined Dr. Jacker's team in order to help people get well and stay out of the hospital. And the other two pictures are pictures of my social life. You have the Mountain Challenge crew, and then myself and my fiance. So let's dive into this. So eczema is known as a chronic dermatological condition that is characterized by skin rashes, dryness, crusting, and flaking skin. So you can see a picture of it here. It actually comes and goes. It's not a stable thing, and most children and infants have it. Or not most of them, but whenever you see skin conditions, this is a very common finding in children such as that. Psoriasis is actually an autoimmune disorder, and what you'll actually see with this is just an inflammatory attack. You can see a lot of redness and scaling. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about this. So eczema is a general diagnosis for any sort of superficial inflammatory process that primarily involves the epidermis. The epidermis is the outer region of the skin, so the part that you can see is the epidermis. This is usually marked by redness, itching, little papules and vesicles, maybe weeping, oozing, and crusting, and then it will develop into scales and flaking. It is also commonly called atopic dermatitis, which basically means inflammation of the skin. So then psoriasis, also known as psoriasis vulgaris, this is a very common form and affects about 85 to 90% of people with diagnosable psoriasis. This typically appears as raised areas of inflamed skin covered with silvery white scaly skin. So these areas are called plaques, and they're most commonly found on the elbows, knees, scalp, and back. So acne itself develops as a result of blockages in the follicles with sebum and keratin. Sebum is produced by sebaceous glands. An enlargement of these sebaceous glands and an increase in sebum production clogs these follicles. This increases the acne bacteria, known as Propionibacterium acnes, and basically this will cause the inflammation and then the whiteheads and the redness, the swelling. So the inflammation wears down the protective skin barrier and makes the pore more susceptible to colonization, which means it can become infected or just have bacteria proliferate there or grow there. So this turns into what we know as a pimple. Right? So some things that will trigger eczema, some chemical irritants can definitely be a trigger. So you need to really consider the soap, shampoos, cosmetics, dishwashing and laundry detergents, disinfectants like chlorine and bleach. These are very common irritants that can make you start to break out in eczema. This could also mean like jewelry or electric blankets, excessive hand washing, certain clothing. With what irritates one individual is often different from what irritates somebody else. So you really need to figure out what is it that causes yours specifically. Environmental allergens, same thing. Different allergens will cause different manifestations in people. Some of the most common allergens include house dust mites, pets, pollen, molds, dandruff, things like that. Another common cause to think about is very hot or cold temperatures. We really want to make sure our body is staying relatively stable, the best that we can when we have these skin issues. So hot weather greater than 80 degrees or cold weather less than 30, high and low humidity, perspiration from exercises, all of these are really hard on our skin. So whenever you have these issues, it's important to take that into consideration. So like a steamy hot bath, that can irritate the skin. You really want it to be, a little bit warmer than lukewarm, but not steaming. Mental and emotional stress. Of course, stress makes everything worse. Why wouldn't it make our skin worse? So that's something to consider. And then food sensitivities. The most common would definitely be gluten. If you have some kind of skin issue and you have not cut out gluten, I strongly encourage you to start there. Dairy products, corn, eggs, chocolate, nuts, soy, all of these are very common food irritants. Hormone levels, which is something I struggled with. I came off birth control, and about 6 to 7 months into it, I was still experiencing just terrible acne. So taking things to help me balance my hormone levels was really important. Our bodies are so used to having a synthetic form of estrogen and progesterone when we take birth control that whenever we come off of it, our body has to get used to producing those hormones on its own, and it takes a while for it to stabilize. The brain and the ovaries communicating with each other, it takes a little while for this to normalize. So there's strategies you can do to help, and I'm going to go over those. And then microbial overgrowth. Certain bacteria like E. coli or Staphylococcus aureus or viruses, yeast, these sorts of things, they can even be in your gut, but they can actually contribute to eczema, acne, or psoriasis as well. So there's something called an allergic triangle. And what research is finding is that if you have one of these, like bad allergies, asthma, or eczema, you most likely have all three. So research has shown that 50 to 70% of children with severe atopic dermatitis go on to have asthma. So this is extremely high, since the rate of asthma among the general population is only 9% of children and 7% of adults. And there has been a compound known as thymextromal lymphopoietin. This has been identified as a possible link between eczema and asthma. Once again, it's thymextromal lymphopoietin. There's an acronym, TSLP. So this is actually an inflammatory interleukin-7 cytokine that is capable of creating a powerful Th2-mediated immune response. Basically, it travels throughout the body, through the bloodstream, and it has an affinity for the lungs where it can trigger the hypersensitive characteristics of asthma. There's also a genetic role at play with eczema. Genetics play a role in why one individual will develop eczema when their body is not stressed, or when their body is stressed, while somebody else won't. Several genetic abnormalities have been noted in individuals with eczema and atopic dermatitis. In particular, variants have been found in the FLG gene. F as in flag, L as in lazy, G as in girl. And this encodes the epidermal barrier protein called filaggrin. So essentially, this plays a role. I'm not going to go in too much detail about that because the main thing we want to discuss is how to overcome these issues. So here are some areas to address for autoimmune disease, so specifically psoriasis. These will definitely help the other ones as well, but particularly psoriasis because it is autoimmune. So first and foremost, we want to address the diet. Blood sugar imbalances. We know that this leads to chronic inflammation. High blood sugar spikes with high insulin spikes leads to a roller coaster ride of blood sugar. So we want to keep this stable. So we do this by including healthy fats in our diet like avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, olives, and then we also use good quality protein like grass-fed beef, organic pasture-raised chicken, pea plant proteins are really great. And then having a lot of non-starchy vegetables in our diet is very important. Low vitamin D levels, most of us are deficient in vitamin D. So we really want this level, when you get it tested, we really want to see this above 60. Most people are below 40. So that's something to pay attention to. We want this between 60 and 100 on your blood work. Gut dysbiosis is huge. If you have any kind of dysbiosis or gastrointestinal dysfunction, maybe you're just experiencing bloating or gas, infrequent bowel movements or diarrhea, some kind of gastrointestinal sign, excessive burping, this can also be related to your acne issues. We also want to boost up antioxidant pathways. We want to be consuming more omega-3 fatty acids than omega-6 fatty acids. The majority of us get plenty of omega-6s, and this actually stimulates the release of pro-inflammatory mediating prostaglandin molecules. So this is key. We want to get good omega-3s in there. Let's see. Environmental toxins, we talked a little bit about that, but we also want to begin changing over what we're using from chemicals to natural solutions. Avoiding pesticides and herbicides by eating organic the best that we can. Heavy metal toxicity is important as well. High stress. If you are under high stress, what you may not even be noticing is that your breathing actually becomes shallow. It can become quick and shallow. And what that means is we're not getting enough oxygen into our body, and we're not exhaling enough carbon dioxide. And when we're keeping that carbon dioxide in or not getting adequate amounts of oxygen, we can become acidic. So we really want to pause, take a breath, take 10 deep breaths, throughout the day. Do this multiple times a day. You really want to focus on good breathing. Lack of sleep is crucial to address. And then EMF exposure is one that a lot of people overlook, but keep in mind that being exposed to advanced technology 24/7 like we are, this is messing with our body's function. So we really want to try to limit that as well. So between the gut and the brain, or the gut and the face, I should say, definitely having a poor diet will contribute to this coming out in the skin. Talked a little bit about that already. Gluten. So one thing you can do in order to see if you have any kind of food sensitivity is actually get tested. We offer a test at drjockers.com. Essentially what it does is it tests to see if you're responsive to any kind of foods. And we also have a protocol that we follow whenever you remove foods. You can add them back in and do something called pulse testing. Basically, you remove them for at least 2 weeks. I actually recommend 30 days, but you take out the food. Say, for instance, we're taking out dairy. 30 days later, we can reintroduce it and see if we're having a sympathetic nervous response. What would that mean? That would mean that you're having a stress response. Your body views it as a threat. We can actually do that through pulse testing. If you have questions about that, you can email me at nutrition@drjockers.com. So let's talk a little bit about gluten. Some very interesting information about gluten. So there's specific enzymes found throughout the body called transglutaminases. These function to bind proteins together. They are key to the digestion of wheat and gluten. When someone has a food sensitivity to gluten, they can often develop antibodies to those transglutamine enzymes. So transglutaminase is found in the intestinal lining, and antibodies to this are a marker for celiac disease. That's one way that they look for it. And then transglutaminase 3 are found in the skin, and antibodies can lead to chronic acne, eczema, and dermatitis. And then there's another one, transglutaminase 6 is found throughout the central nervous system, and antibody formation leads to neurological disorders. So these enzymes, they're also used by the food industry to tenderize meat, to hold processed meats together in specific shapes. So individuals with a reactivity to this would have significant reactions when they consume these processed meats as well. So that's something to consider. But like I said earlier, if you have any kind of health issue, period, I would try removing gluten from your diet and seeing what kind of difference it makes. Vitamin D, really important. This has been shown to reduce inflammation. Like I said, we really want this to be in between the levels of 60 and 100 whenever you have it tested. So basically, I don't want to go into too much here, but it reduces inflammation. It increases regulation and bacteria fighting systems in the skin. It helps the absorption of calcium. It helps you build strong bones. Very important. Omega-3 fatty acids are extremely important for healthy cells. Every cell in our body has a lipid membrane around it, and we want this to be healthy. And lipid means fat. We have a fatty layer. So this is comprised of cholesterol and protein channels and little lipids that comprise the phospholipid bilayer. And basically what we want is for things to be getting into and out of the cell like it's supposed to. We don't want rigid cells, and that's what happens when we follow a low-fat diet. We really want good amounts of omega-3 fatty acids in our diet. So you can see some examples here. We have some kale, salmon, chia seeds, and nuts. Make sure you're getting a good quality fish oil into your diet on a daily basis. So zinc is really important as well. Zinc deficiency is a common issue with infants suffering from eczema. Because breast milk is naturally low in zinc, it is important for mothers to supplement and consume a high zinc diet. When treating eczema with zinc and selenium, it is best to take chelated supplements like zinc glycinate and selenomethionine. So in chelated forms, chelated forms, the zinc and selenium are bound to an amino acid that help transport it through the gastrointestinal tract. Free selenium and zinc are potentially toxic to humans. So those are the forms that we want. We want selenomethionine and zinc glycinate. Histamine is another consideration. Basically, histamine is something that you consume in a healthy diet. You can get it from good quality meats and eggs. It's just an amino acid. So the problem comes whenever we aren't metabolizing it effectively and we have a histamine buildup. Well, histamine is a vasodilator, so that means that it can cause red blotches on the skin. If you break out in hives, histamine could be the culprit for that. If you get headaches or itching, something like that, that could also be an indicator that you struggle with histamine. I've had some people tell me that they just notice when they're out in the sun, they feel like they're allergic to it because they'll break out or just respond very poorly to being in the sun. Well, this could be a histamine intolerance issue. So I found that when people take out histamine, they can do really well. So I've thrown a lot at you. Let's condense it. Let's see. We got 18 good ways to get rid of eczema, acne, and psoriasis. So first and foremost is the diet. Something you may want to consider is following an autoimmune protocol. So you want to take out things like eggs, soy, sugar, grains, legumes, nightshade vegetables, and then follow a low histamine diet. We have access to food plans that have low histamine foods as well as autoimmune. We even have them combined, so let me know if you'd like one of those. And use high quality collagen protein and bone broths. This helps heal the gut lining and improve the strength and integrity of the skin as well. Reducing stress, very important. We want to deep breathe and make sure we're getting lots of sleep. We want 8 to 9 hours each night. This is crucial for healing inflammation. We want good amounts of zinc and selenium, so make sure you're eating organic, pasture-raised meat, wild-caught fish, and then pumpkin seeds, Brazil nuts, and green vegetables. These are great. We also want to get a good quality vitamin A and vitamin E. So fat-soluble vitamin A and E are super key for healthy skin and reduce inflammation in the epidermis. In particular, the fat-soluble retinol version of vitamin A is significantly better than the water-soluble beta-carotene found in carrots. The best foods for retinol and vitamin E include sources like grass-fed butter, ghee, avocados, cod liver oil, organ meats from pasture-raised animals. So be sure to consume ample amounts of these superfoods so that they improve your health. You want to use antioxidant-rich herbs, so turmeric, ginger, oregano, garlic, basil, thyme, rosemary. Just add these to your teas, add them to your dishes all day long. They're great for helping the body detox. Ground your body. So I kind of talked about EMFs earlier, but basically these increase stress in our body and alter neurotransmitter function. So by going outside daily, walking barefoot on the grass, the dirt, the sand, you absorb natural EMFs from the ground that balance your electrical rhythms. So make sure you're getting outside. Get away from artificial light as much as you can. Try not to hold your cell phone up to your face too often. So you also want to supplement with omega-3s, a good fish oil. So you want a good variety of EPA and DHA, and the omega-6 fatty acid GLA. So consume grass-fed meat, grass-fed butter, wild-caught fish. Spirulina is really great for omega-3 fatty acids. And then I personally use something called Pro EFA from Nordic Naturals, and it's amazing, but that has tons of omega-3s in it. Juicing your vegetables is a really great way to get in powerful phytonutrients into your system. Intermittent fasting, so going 16 hours between dinner and breakfast is one of the best ways to reduce oxidative stress. This helps repair the gut lining. So you want to start not with 16 hours. That could be really hard, but start with 12 hours between dinner and breakfast. That's doable. So eat at 7 at night, consume breakfast at 7 in the morning. And then just gradually increase that over time. So start putting 13 hours between dinner and breakfast, and then 14. And the next thing you'll know, you'll have 16 hours in between dinner and your first meal the next day. This just really helps boost up mitochondrial function and helps your body metabolize and heal itself. Oil pulling is really great. This can help reduce the microbial load, take stress off the immune system, and reduce inflammation. So what you can do is actually warm it up just a little bit so that it's not just straight, hard coconut oil. You want it to be soft so that you can actually swish it around in your mouth. You can do this twice a day and then spit it out. You don't want to swallow it after you've been swishing it around in your mouth, so spit it out. Getting a home water filtration system, huge. Huge. If you haven't changed over your water, this is very important. You want to avoid the chloride, fluoride, pesticides, heavy metals, all these things that are found in our tap water. These environmental toxins destroy healthy microflora and they weaken skin epidermal barriers. So use a good whole home water filtration system. Specifically, you want reverse osmosis water. You also want to get filters for your shower heads, anything that you're having water come out of and touching your skin or going into your body. Essential oils. I think this is so important for skin health when you're struggling with acne. So the antioxidant content and aromatherapy benefits of essential oils actually improves oxygenation and reduces the harmful effects of oxidative stress throughout the body. Some of my favorites are lavender, peppermint, chamomile, and sweet orange. But my absolute favorite for skin issues, so I had hormonal acne and it would get cystic, so it was big and hard. And sometimes it wouldn't even come up to the surface. The white wouldn't come up to the surface, and you really don't need to touch these. The worst thing you can do when you have skin issue is actually touch your face. So refrain from touching, rule number 1. Rule number 2, whenever you're washing your face, try to just use lukewarm water and have the water do the work. Let it run over your face without touching your face with your hands. And then you want to use a soft cleanser. I personally use Beauty Counter cleanser. It works great for me. And then what you want to do is pat dry, air dry, and then put on tea tree oil. So this has been a game changer for me. So I just get tea tree oil and I make sure my fingers are clean before I use it, but I get tea tree oil and I put it on my skin, and basically it dries out the areas, but it doesn't make me look dried out. It just makes the inflammation go away. So all the spots, they're not red anymore. They're totally not red. The white or the blackheads that are in them completely go away. Tea tree oil has been awesome, but you only want to do this regimen, twice a day. Other than that, let your skin do its thing. Let it be, healing on its own. Let it be naturally healing. You don't want to interfere too much with what's going on there, because the body has a great, powerful way of healing itself if you let it do its thing. So don't touch it. Gut motility is really important. Improving bowel movement frequency. If you're struggling with constipation, this can definitely contribute to increased breakouts. So chia seeds and flaxseed, bone broths, fermented foods, collagen proteins, and probiotics are really great for helping getting that bowel motility moving. Another really great thing to try is apple cider vinegar and coconut oil. So many people who have eczema, acne, rosacea, psoriasis, they often see improvement if they dilute apple cider vinegar. So you'll have about 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in 2 ounces of water, and then add a little coconut oil. And the apple cider vinegar and coconut help to reduce inflammation and nourish your skin. It also helps with a healthy skin microbiome. So you're helping out the good bacteria on your face as well. I know it's weird to think about having bacteria on your face, but it is everywhere. So you'll do the apple cider vinegar and water. You put that on your face, let it dry for about 15 minutes, and then you add on the coconut oil. And I mean, you just need a dab. Coconut oil spreads very, very easily. A little goes a long way. So let that dry. Twice a day is plenty for this. And then healing leaky gut syndrome. So this can get pretty complicated, and I advise you to work with someone if you have leaky gut. You want to get to the root cause of what's going on there. So look into causes of, do you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, candida overgrowth, food sensitivities, whatever it may be, all of the above, but you really want to heal that gut lining. So thank you so much for listening. I hope it helped. Hope you learned something, and I hope you all have a great day. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at nutrition@drjockers.com.